Hello, everyone, and welcome to Franchise Focus. I'm your host, Lisa Lenkowski. I am a certified franchise consultant, and I have Franchise Focus is a way to spotlight those that are experts in the franchise space. And coming to me via the virtual world, we have Erich Radlmann, with the managing partner with Spherion Staffing, and he is coming to us from North Jersey, Westfield, New Jersey. Welcome, Erich.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, Erich, you have been the owner of Spherion Staffing, look at, I got it right this time, for close to 18 years. What was your background before that?
So before joining Spherion, I did work for a company called Cerner doing healthcare information systems installations. This was a fly out on Sunday, go to a hospital in the Midwest and train people on how to use the systems, and then fly back on Friday. And then I worked for Arthur Andersen doing healthcare consulting. And then I went back and got my MBA, and shortly after that joined Spherion.
Fantastic. So you just made it sound like, snap, there it was. So how did you get into the franchising space? Did you look directly, or did you work with someone like me? Talk to us about that.
Okay, great. So Spherion, seems like there's two different types of people at Spherion across the country. And Spherion itself has 200 locations across the country. There's two types of owners. One are their family members, maybe a father and son, or a daughter, or some combination of like that. Or it's people that worked perhaps in the corporate office and understood the model and then decided to buy a franchise. And then there are people from the externally that do buy in as well. So my father had opened up the first location in New Jersey in 1993. And then I used to work in the summers, temping and at various places, doing things that might be in an office, like copying, a lot of photocopying, a lot of filing, or it could be working in a lumber yard sorting wood. So I would do that in the summers in high school and in college to make some money. So I really did kind of gain an understanding and an interest in the business at a young age.
So this is a family endeavor. I love that. And so your father had this business, and then you just took that. That was his exit strategy, was to hand this right on off to you. How long has it been since he's not been involved in the business?
So back in 1993, you opened up the first office, and then every 10 years you kind of have to make a decision in terms of signing the franchise agreements. So in 2003, his sons were out of college, and he no longer needed the extra income. So he sat both my brother and I down, and he said, I'm thinking about selling the business unless if you wanted to come in. And my brother has a very successful construction business in Atlanta. So geographically, he wasn't interested, as well as he was doing just fine. And I had just gotten out of my MBA program. I was interning with some companies, but nothing really was going on. And I said, I would love to do this. I've always been entrepreneurial. So I did join him in 2003. At the time, he had one office. And we, over the next couple of years, we opened up 3 more offices. One was organically opened. One the corporate office sold to us in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. And then the other one was another franchisee who was retiring. And she was in Eastern New Jersey, in Monmouth and Ocean County. So we purchased her business.
Fantastic. So really great growth, have been doing this for many, many years, started with your dad. Now you then take over the reins. And that is what is nice about the franchising space, that you do, at the end of your period of time, you get to make this decision of, well, do I want to sell this? Do I want to continue on? Or do I want to have someone that's already in the business coming in with me and working on it? And so you do get those, different options, and it is very helpful, when you're trying to make that decision. So that's wonderful that you decided to come on board with your dad, and you've been doing it ever since. So let's talk about what Spherion Staffing is all about. So let's, you just talked about that they have over 200 locations, and we get that, the word staffing is in there, really hot topic today. Give us an overview.
Okay, sure. So Spherion itself is 200 offices. We're actually owned by a holding company that also owns Randstad. So when you see the name Randstad, and they have locations all over the United States as well as Europe and all over the world, all told, we're the number 2 staffing company in the world when you put it all together. But the Spherion name is really the franchise name. And so the strategy with Spherion really is to be local, to be part of the communities that where we live and where we go to church and where our kids go to school. We're part of that fabric of the community. We do community give back to kind of build those relationships and scholarships to people in the local community. And what we are typically doing on a day-to-day basis is we are helping companies with challenges of finding the right fit, the right employees, and then we're also helping candidates and people who are looking to advance their career find a job that's a good fit for them.
So you're on both sides of the equation then. So you're helping companies to staff, and then you're also helping to do the recruiting as well?
Yes, absolutely. So building relationships with both the candidates and the companies simultaneously.
And I would assume you're industry agnostic, meaning that you don't have to focus on one specific area?
Right, yeah, and that's interesting thing. If we're looking at Spherion across the country, some Spherion offices, for example, in Ohio, they do almost entirely industrial positions. We do in New Jersey here, we do about 20% in warehouse and distribution centers, and the rest is office professional, as well as we do quite a bit within the legal industry. So placing paralegals and attorneys and lateral partner moves. So it is a wide range. Some offices specialize in, they have recruiters that specialize in IT developers and programmers, but that's not something that we're doing here in New Jersey. So really the franchise kind of sets up the ability, the framework, and you can kind of decide based on your interests and skills and who you're able to recruit as recruiters, what you want to do. So that's, they kind of give that structure, and then you can kind of go in whatever direction you want or whatever direction is more appropriate for your market.
Right, and it also depends on the talent that you have on board for who is great at getting specific, areas of interest, right? So you get to create a niche for yourself. I'm having a tough time talking today. And so you get to create that for yourself, and then if that talent pool leaves you, then you can either decide to continue in that area or evolve into a different area, correct?
Absolutely. Correct. We've had over the years, we had somebody that was really good at clinical healthcare. They kind of had a clinical healthcare background, and when they left, we don't do as much of that work anymore because they knew how to talk to the nurses and the doctors and the practice administrators and to pull out the right information about the positions.
And so how many people do you employ with your franchise?
Close to 30.
Wow.
So, and when I say 30, these are the people, these are the recruiters on my team, the admins and recruiters on my team that I employ directly. And then at any given time, we have 250 people that are out there working in New Jersey at companies. And the business model really is either temporary temp to hire or direct hire placements. We are doing a lot more direct hire placements, but we still have, at least 200 people out at any given week out there working on client sites.
Fantastic. And, let's address the elephant in the room. We have a whole labor shortage happening right now currently. And, talk to us about that. What are you seeing right now? Things getting any better at all?
Yeah, so better, if you're looking for a job, it's great right now. You'll be potentially making 15, 20% more than you were making before the pandemic. There's a lot more, there's a labor shortage right now, so employers are having to compete. I hear stories of how they're actually having to be nicer to their employees so they don't have bad Glassdoor reviews. They're trying to come up with perks and things. They're they're certainly trying to be flexible. They're offering work-life balances or the ability to work completely remote. They're doing whatever it takes, bending over backwards, as it were, to try to attract the employees.
Yes, it's definitely an employees market, that is for sure. For the first time in my lifetime that, that we're watching something like this unfold, and, how it's going to change the industry and how companies are now really having to up their game in incentivizing and in really stepping up of all of the different perks and signing bonuses and all the different things, and then to your point, then really treating them well so that they don't get bad reviews and then people don't want to come work there. I didn't even think about that end, but of course it all goes hand in hand. So what are some of the strategies that you are employing for trying to get that talent that's out there, because they are out there, but how are you getting them to come in so that you can fill these positions? And are you having a tough time, or do you do such a great job that it's not an issue for you?
There's always challenges. Certainly it's more challenging in the light industrial warehouse manufacturing space. In the office professional space, it's less challenging. But really one thing that Spherion has done a really good job of is technology and creating a community. And so through social media marketing, through mass text messaging, email messaging, marketing and branding, we've done a good job of kind of having that universe of candidates that's available, and to attract people to apply to positions. But really, if it wasn't for the technology and some of the platforms that Spherion's created, it would be incredibly challenging.
So that technology has actually been very beneficial during such a difficult time. That's great to hear. And going back to the very beginning when you were talking about that this is a very community-focused franchise. I literally just had this conversation this week about that when people talk about shop small business, they often overlook franchising for some unknown reason. And I said, don't overlook your local franchise, because they are a local owner-operator. They are locally hiring people within your area, and oftentimes they are very community-minded as a result. So, you're sitting here saying, yes, we are very community-minded, and it's because of that community outreach, that's what's helped you to be very instrumental in making sure that this is not as much of a painful time for you and for your clients as it could be for others that are out there.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, having those relationships built already over the last 20 years certainly helps. And it's a day doesn't go by where somebody calls and says, "Oh, you may not remember me, but you placed me somewhere 20 years ago, and I'm looking for work again." So it's those relationships are really important, and you certainly don't want to burn bridges. I mean, we're in this. Everybody that works with me is really in this because they want to help people, whether it's helping the companies or helping these candidates find a good home. They're really dedicated in that regard.
Terrific. Well, we're going to take a quick pause and hear a word from our sponsors.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Welcome back to Franchise Focus. I am your host, Lisa Lankowski, and I have with me today Erich Radlmann, who is the managing partner for Spherion Staffing. And right before the commercial break, Erich, we were talking all about the labor shortage and how you and your company are integral in helping companies get placements for a myriad of different companies in various industries. So what I'd like to talk about for a moment is, we don't focus enough about why people go to franchising and, why someone could sit there and your dad could have come up with perhaps a staffing concept on his own back years ago, but he chose not to, and instead he chose to go the franchising route, and then you continued it. Talk to us about why franchising and why is that something that people should consider and what is so helpful about it.
Yeah, it's funny, and I'll back up a little because he was even looking at different franchises. He was looking at Dunkin' Donuts and things that weren't even related to employment or staffing as well. And really, the reason is he wanted something where he still had a part-time job at Johnson & Johnson doing employment consulting, and he wanted something where he could be a little bit more of an absentee owner. And this gave him the opportunity to do that. So it's funny, from 1993 to 2003, he never had a conversation with a candidate or a client. All he did was manage the people he hired. So that changed dramatically when I joined because I'm super hands-on, and I'm very involved with the hiring and the clients and all of that, those relationships. So back to why Spherion and what it does. There's a few things in staffing that you need help with. One is payroll. At any given time, I have $1 million of payroll outstanding, and it's very hard to have that line of credit. Whereas, and I've had other staffing companies that are not part of our system come to us saying, I just got this great client, but I don't have the payroll. Can I work with you so you guys can pay them? In other words, they're giving us clients because they can't even meet the payroll demands of the client. Secondly, there's workers' compensation is an integral part of this. The 200 Spherion offices across the country are essentially self-insured, so we all kind of chip in a percentage of each salary. There's a safety manager that manages all the claims. There's nurses that manage the claims. There's an entire claims management network to help keep the cost of workers' compensation down. Of course, if people are injured, we want to get them the care and attention they need. But we also want to limit the number of fraudulent claims that do occur. So that's another huge aspect that Spherion does an excellent job with. And then another thing is the community. I know we talked about our local community, but also the community of Spherion owners across the country. We have an annual meeting every year, then we have a semi-annual meeting. And then especially during, since COVID happened, every week at 7 p.m. on a Wednesday, all the owners join a call for kind of like a State of the Union. Here's how we're doing as a company. Here's opportunities that are happening. For example, when screenings were happening for COVID, we sort of pivoted pretty quickly into providing screeners for companies that could be doing temperature checking and things like this. So there's various ideas and strategies and training that the corporate office provides. And all of that, in 1993, my father was looking at it saying, I can't do all of this on my own. I need this. I need a partner for this. And that partnership has led to us getting some incredible contracts that we never would have gotten without them. For example, companies like Coca-Cola and JCPenney, some of these larger Fortune 50 companies, Siemens, we wouldn't be able to have access to these companies and doing their staffing if it wasn't for having a larger brand behind us.
Right, because you have that brand awareness, it's across the country, people have great success with it, then that spreads, and then before you know it, your local companies for those major corporations are all signing on and taking part in that. So helpful. And to your point that during the pandemic, you had to sit there and pivot, and they were able to roll that out probably quicker than usual, only because you all could talk together, you all could collaborate with each other and come up with, what's working, what's not working, go this way, go that way. And when you are owning a business that is independent, you don't really have too many other people to lean on that in that way. This is where you do get to talk to all these owners across the country. Brain trust. You really get to hear what is happening out there among everyone else, and then pick and choose what you hear and then apply it to your own company. So very helpful, and that's why it's a franchise system, because everyone's doing this in place. However, everyone comes at it just in a little bit of a different way and in a different angle. Is that what you see?
Yeah, exactly. And then, so over the years, there's been a few things, like, for example, the Affordable Care Act. How are we going to integrate the Affordable Care Act into us as an employer? And the Spherion hired a consultant from Ernst & Young to do it. If I was a mom and pop staffing company, I wouldn't exactly be hiring an Ernst & Young consultant to figure out how to solve that challenge. Again, it happened here in New Jersey with paid sick leave. Now that's something that was only happening in New Jersey, and I'm the only franchise owner in New Jersey. Yet they assembled an entire team of people to help me figure out how I was going to handle the mandatory paid sick leave. And that's something that Spherion consistently does a great job helping its franchisors or franchisees rather, and that's another example of that.
That's all great points, and you don't know what's coming around the corner, and then how are you going to address that?
What's next?
So what comes next? And we're in New Jersey, so we know anything is possible, right? Well, this is wonderful. So let's talk about the fact that you've got all this collaboration and you've got this system in place, and business development is a huge integral part of any franchise, going out to go get that business. And this has been something that you've had for several decades, but you're always looking for new business. How do you go about doing that?
So yeah, it's probably a three-pronged approach. One is that there are national salespeople for Spherion that do win contracts on a national basis and then kind of hand that off to the local markets. Secondly, I do have a incredible business development person who's been with me for 12 years. She looks through job ads in classifieds and online to try to find companies that are looking to hire, and then she calls them to see if we can help them. And then there's SEO that happens at the corporate office has websites that drive lead funnels and traffic to our local offices as well. So the leads come in over email, and then we pick up the phone and we call the company, or we email them back to set up an appointment. And then we do a lot of networking. This goes back to our community. When we're doing networking, we're not only looking for clients, we're also looking for candidates. So we're heavily involved in the SHRM chapters, Chamber of Commerce's, local leads groups, pretty much anything, any opportunity to share our story and tell them what we do, we join those.
Right, and you and I met as a result of networking. So, it is something in business development that is, I tell my candidates, it's so very important. So your business development person has been with you for 12 years. Has there ever been any talk about that exit strategy that might be coming around the corner one day for you, and maybe this person taking on for you, or have I just uncovered something that no one has talked about yet?
I mean, we haven't talked too much about it, but she's probably closer to retirement than I am. So, but we have a significant amount of clients as well, that we're not, she brings in wonderful clients, absolutely, but we have other opportunities, through those other areas to bring in clients. And then, I guess I haven't really thought about an exit strategy for myself, really, but I can share with you some of the other Spherion owners across the country. This is where if they have a family member or a daughter-in-law or a son-in-law, they'll bring them into the business and train them and then kind of build that succession strategy. Or they will, there is a franchise person there's a salesperson that only helps with bringing on potential owners at the company, and then they do trade shows as well. They're at all the major trade shows trying to get franchise owners as well. But that's the one good thing about staffing is there's a lot of reoccurring revenue. There's a lot of you place somebody, they could be there for 3 months or 3 years. So that kind of week. Every week sort of revenue stream that happens does make it saleable. And that consistency is something that people are looking for. So, in terms of any exit strategy, you're looking for people that are good at managing and good at networking and customer service and sales. Those are the people that tend to do a good job in this industry.
And they've got to have passion. You've been doing this for almost 20 years, and you've got to get up, get out of bed, and be excited, and do it all over again. Rinse and repeat. So having that passion for your business and being excited about it is really important. It's something that I think people don't put enough emphasis on, but there's nothing better than being happy in your profession, correct?
Yeah, my father would say it all the time, but if you're doing something you love, you never have to work a day in your life.
What a great way for us to wrap up the show today, Erich. Well, I can't thank you enough for coming on and talking to us about such an incredibly important topic. And for those that are wanting to reach out and talk with Erich about getting staff for their company or candidates that are looking for jobs up in the North Jersey area and also the other subsequent locations that Erich has, we've put your information up on the screen for everyone to see. And I thank you so much for joining Franchise Focus today. This show airs every Friday at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and I am Lisa Lankowski. I'm a certified franchise consultant. You can find out all about me at my website, which is at milestonefranchising.com. Until next time.